Okay, we're going to continue in Europe here to talk about the Enlightenment. And some of you might be familiar with the Enlightenment from other courses. And really, the Enlightenment forms a lot of our understanding and approach to the world today. We really do live in the legacy of the Enlightenment. This is the Enlightenment takes shape around the late 18th century, and it is a time, again, where reason and scientific inquiry are valued above all else. This also gives birth to the Industrial Revolution, to the mechanization of manufacturing and labor. And we see people like Voltaire, the great Enlightenment philosopher, who touts the belief in tolerance, the freedom of religion, free trade, free taste, freedom in all aspects for people. Now, of course, for Voltaire and those who were greatly influenced by Voltaire, people like the founding fathers of the United States, that freedom did not extend to people of color or to women, but it does move us away from the kind of age of all-powerful monarchies to thinking about a kind of more open society, but of course still with these major shortcomings. Okay, here's another great portrait. And in fact, looking at this now, right after Rembrandt, I see a lot of similarities here. We see a group portrait that's really dynamic, people interacting with each other, and in a very darkened setting where we see these figures who are brightly illuminated against a dark, kind of sparse background. This is a depiction of a lecturer giving a demonstration of an instrument called an orrery to a small audience. Here's a picture of a real-life orrery. It's a hard word to say. Essentially, what it is a mechanical model of the solar system. Each planet is represented by a metal orb, and a lamp is placed in the middle to represent the sun. Now, the orrery, the painting itself by Joseph Wright, caused a great stir as it replaced the classical subject at the center of the scene with one of a scientific nature. So it's not a person that's at the center of the scene here, but it's really this scientific tool itself. Wright's depiction of the awe produced by scientific miracles. I mean, look at these little children, these younger figures here, right at the orrery, kind of, scooching in to get a better view. These scientific miracles marked a break with previous traditions in which the artistic depictions of such wonder was reserved for religious events. But here, Wright is marveling at the technological scientific age, where an orrery is just as awe-inspiring as a scene from the life of Jesus or the life of a particular saint. We're going to shift gears here to the Edo period in Japan. So if you look at the dates, we're right about contemporary with Rembrandt and the age of Joseph Wright. And here our focus is really going to be on depictions of nature. The Edo period is ruled by the Tokugawa shogunate, and it was a time of peace and prosperity. It's also the time of the policy called sakoku, or chained country. Japan was almost completely cut off from the outside at this time. No trade, no outside cultural influences. Christianity was banned. And we see a distinct artistic style, artistic practice emerge here, and that's woodcut prints. Now remember, woodblock prints are made out of blocks of wood where pieces are carved out of the wood. All of the raised pieces on the woodblock are then inked and pressed onto a piece of paper. And here we're seeing a group of woodblock prints that come from CSU's art museum, the Gregory Alekar Museum of Art, that I encourage you all to explore at some point, since we were not able to this semester. And the way these artists got different colors on wood blocks is that these wood blocks are inked in different ways, and then they're carefully aligned so that the red ink block gets aligned with the green one, gets aligned with the gray one, and so forth to create these layers of colors. These prints are known as ukiyo-e, and that means pictures of the floating world. What they are pictures of everyday scenes. This little kind of fish arrangement on the left, a rainy plaza on the right with a pagoda, the bridge at night with an illuminated house, just kind of, the kind of everyday. We also see scenes of kabuki theater, sumo wrestlers, romances, ghost stories, things that really appealed to a wide variety of art buyers. And they were cheaply made prints, easily reproduced, and so there's a huge plethora of these Japanese woodblock prints. Probably the most famous one, though, is Hokusai's Great Wave that we see depicted here. Now, Hokusai is one of the most celebrated ukiyo-e masters, and this print comes from a series called 36 Views of Mount Fuji, where, as the name suggests, Hokusai presents 36 different views of this iconic mountain. This is Mount Fuji. That's on the outskirts of Edo, or present-day Tokyo. It was really a symbol of Japan, and we have this towering mountain here depicted in such a distinctive way because we have the mountain in the background. It's completely dwarfed by this massive wave that looks like it's about to crash and wash away the mountain. We also, starting in the foreground here, we also see how we have 3 different little boats that are just precariously out, kind of getting tossed around in the sea. And we really wonder what's going to happen to them after they collide into this gigantic wave. There's various interpretations here of this scene that really shows us the power of nature. Some read it as an allegory that life is filled with tsunamis, life is filled with waves, and we have to manage these struggles. I'm preaching to the choir here, I know right now, because of course we are experiencing overwhelming and traumatic disruptions in our lives right now. Others attempt to see this as a larger metaphor that alludes to the drastic change that is about to come to Japan. In 1850, American Commodore Matthew Perry forces open the ports of Japan, and Japan begins to trade, welcome others to their country for the first time in centuries. All right, we're going to jump quite far ahead here. And this is really going to be these are our last few artworks to look at, and I think this is a good note for us to close on. So, the environmental movement, the modern environmental movement, begins to take shape in the 60s and 70s. Earth Day, which celebrates its 50th anniversary this year, founded in 1970. We see authors like Rachel Carson writing Silent Spring, pointing out the dangers of pollution. And artists begin to respond to the environmental movement in their work. And they do that by taking their art out of the gallery, out of the museum, creating massive works of art that are out in nature. And this is what earthworks are all about. Here we see Robert Smithson's Spiral Jetty. It is a huge work of art that's hard to even comprehend from one individual, and it's in a remote location in the Great Salt Lake in Utah. Smithson actually meant this artwork to disappear. He called it a monument to disintegration. And I think that's really powerful when a work of art is not meant to be permanent, but there's something timely about it. It's also site-specific. We have to make this arduous trek out to the Great Salt Lake to see what's left of this work today. And there is a little bit left of it here. It can't be moved. We have to go to this work. It interacts with its location in a much more profound way because of that. Smithson, of course, didn't work by himself to create this huge spiral of earth and rocks out into the Great Salt Lake. He hired union labor to distribute earth, and it's a powerful work today that, of course, very few people have seen. Most people know it only through photographs. Similar is Walter de Maria's lightning field out in New Mexico. These are 400 steel poles that are set on a plot of land in the New Mexico desert. This work has an almost sublime effect because here Walter de Maria is out, in this harsh location, and he is using natural phenomena to not restrict or control lightning, but these rods actually connect the heavens and the earth as actual lightning rods to channel the lightning itself, directly interacting with the environment. This work cannot be bought or sold. It cannot be moved. And it ultimately creates this kind of sublime effect where we are really contemplating the larger messages here about the power of nature. All right, let's skip ahead to this work that I read about last fall, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. We have to talk about it. So this artist, Klaus Littmann, he had this vision of installing a forest in a football stadium somewhere in Europe. And he went to, of course, a lot of football clubs, they weren't interested in giving up their pitch for a season. But the team in Klagenfurt, Austria, had a really horrendous season. And they were intrigued by the message that Littmann had in his work. And so they gave up their stadium. They practiced and played on another pitch. And we see here Littmann removes the pitch and he adds hundreds of trees in an installation called For Forest, the unending attraction of nature. And I think there's multiple messages going on here. Again, this is a site-specific work that is not going to last forever. In fact, it's already taken down. We have to travel to this place. And I think that's extra special when we know something is not going to be somewhere forever. And we sit in the stands to contemplate nature. I think it almost brings the reality closer to us that forests are disappearing, that the world has been massively deforested at an alarming rate, and that if we don't change our behaviors and we don't push for corporations and politicians to change their behaviors, the forest is going to be something of a kind of novelty where there'll just be a few little squares left and we are meant to contemplate it from the stands, as Littmann shows us. That's a little bit of a bummer to end on here, but I think what it shows us is, the message I want you all to leave with is that artists and art are in a position of power to comment and critique contemporary society, to change people's views and opinions of different issues that matter to us. And they matter in a kind of life or death way, like considering climate change. So I hope that we end here thinking about this profound power that art has. And I thank you all for joining me, both in class and online. And I hope that your group work is going well. Please do let me know if there's anything I can help you with, or if there's any questions I can answer. Be well, be safe, stay healthy.